All right, welcome everyone to BizzTalk Africa. This is our second edition of this show that we're doing, and the first one had a great reception, so we're going to keep doing it. Today with us we have a fantastic guest, Samson, and I'm gonna probably butcher your last name, but is it Ogbole? Did I get it? Oh, all right.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. We're so grateful to have Samson on here doing some amazing things in Africa regarding agriculture, specifically with soilless farms. And I'm going to let him tell you about that, his company and what he's doing. With me as my co-host today is Vidya Mike. Vidya is a partner here at BizzTech, but also the CEO and founder of Questa Solutions, which is actually doing some really exciting things in Africa as well. I'm Jason Schuster, representing BizzTech today as well. And let's get this thing started. Samson, tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing right now.
All right, thank you. So farmer Samson Ogbole. I'm a farmer, modern farmer, like I like to call myself. Right now, we are into the use of hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics in the growing of crops. And this is primarily because, number one, we are trying to ensure stability in food prices. We understand that there are two ways to ensure high economic empowerment for our people. Number one is either you increase the salary of everyone, or number two, crash the price of food. Now, trying to increase the salary of everybody is not so realistic because there are many metrics involved. But the second part of crashing the price of food is way easier. Now, for a start, we decided, okay, let's start off with trying to stabilize the price of food. Because right now in the country, you realize there is a time where the price of tomatoes is super cheap when it is in season, and there is a time when the price becomes really high when it is out of season. So that told us that there is a direct link between seasons and price. But if we are able to produce our food without depending on season, then we are able to ensure stability in price. And ensuring stability in price allows the African household to plan their finance better on the long term, as opposed to short-term plans.
As well as exports, right?
With soilless farming.
As well as exports.
As well as exports.
Absolutely.
Yes, as well as exports.
Yeah.
So you realize, thank you for that. So you realize that with soilless farming, we are able to ensure that the price of food is constant. The price of food does not fluctuate, whether it is rainy season, dry season, whatever the season is, it is the same. Number two, this is done because we are able to keep the input cost constant. Two, looking at our terrain, the average age of our farmers is about 60 years. Now, what this means for us, especially as Nigerians, is if by the year 2050, we are going to be 450 million in population, and the average age of the farmer is 60, that is a time bomb.
Absolutely.
And we have one of the highest young population in the world. So there is a need to bring agriculture in a way that it is appealing to the youth. We like to use the word sexy to the youth. And the way to do that is to bring in agriculture with technology, where they do not see agriculture with hoes and cutlasses. And usually, I know whenever I say this, people are quick to say things like, oh, when you bring in technology, does that not reduce the job? And I say, yes, it does. But it also creates new jobs, because if our sole purpose is to create jobs, then why just use hoes and cutlass? Let's go back and stop the use of telephones. Let's go back to letter writing. Or better still, stop using the cars. Let's go back to riding on donkeys and horses. Stop using the whole ATMs and go back to ledgers. That way we create more jobs. But if we are about efficiency and productivity, then we must be ready to adopt same in agriculture.
And you produce more, you expand your market, and therefore the cycle just grows, right? Yeah.
And it grows, yes, exactly. So for us, that is number two. we need to be able to bring in the next generation of farmers who must first and foremost understand agriculture. Number two, we are concerned about them understanding agricultural science, because you cannot have proper agriculture without understanding the science that backs the agriculture. And for a very long time as Africans, we have run with the agriculture without the science. Yes. And that is where there has been a big disconnect. So for us, we are particular about people understanding the science that backs the agriculture. Then the third level is agribusiness. So don't just run this as an agricultural scientist who is just about research. Much more than that, understand the business of what you are doing. Agriculture for now seems to be the only sector that people comes in without a proper market plan. Nobody goes into oil and gas without a plan on how to sell, but you have people come into agriculture and tell you, I will just plant, I believe people will buy. And at the end, they are not sure of what's next when they have their produce. So that is number two. Then number three is, because we understand some of the issues we have as Africans, we don't have the best of roads available. We don't have some of the best of some of the basic amenities available in Europe. However, we do not have the power to shout for change because we are not government. But we can bring our farms closer to the city such that those shortcomings do not affect our productivity. So rather than have a farm 50, 60, hundreds of miles away from the city where it will be sold, because we are doing soilless farming, with a little space, you can have a mega farm, grow on multiple layers, and you are still able to service your market without the issues of the logistics.
Fascinating.
Instead, the issue of the...
Does your process, so it's really fascinating. Does your process also, because you have a soilless farm, do you feel like you have less issues with like bugs and you know, like your produce is better and your yield is better because you're able to control, you know, the environment?
Yes, definitely, because now because we are growing in controlled environment, it means that we are able to a large extent form a kind of semi-permeable membrane of what comes to the plant and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
So this time around, there is better predictability in what we get, because one of the major issues, one of the major issues we have with investment in agriculture is the high risk factor because of the too many unknowns.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of the ways to remove the unknown first is looking at the input and the production process. And with soilless farming, the inputs are better known. With the controlled environment, you are able to control things that would naturally affect. I really like to use this example. I say most of the pathogens that affect plants are soil-borne. They are found in the soil. By eliminating the soil component of planting, I have automatically dealt with those organisms. They are now issues I don't have to worry about. Number two, you realize that because our agriculture is basically soil-driven, two, our agriculture is manpower-driven rather than man-mind-driven. But when you come to soilless, you are removing it from the manpower to the power of the mind. And with the power of the mind, we can do much more. But with the power of the hands, there is a limit to what our strength can carry. And for us, this is fundamental in what we are trying to build.
And your quality as well, right? So it's all organic, you have less fertilizer, all of those things. So you eat yourself healthy, pretty much.
You know, you are healthier. And for us, we also concerned about the process of our farming. I always tell people this, that when you move into developed countries have some of the healthiest farmers. Developing countries have some of the unhealthiest farmers. They are unhealthy body-wise. You cannot tell somebody that is unhealthy to give you healthy food. It's an anathema. There is something wrong. So our process of farming must first and foremost be healthy for the farmer, two, healthy for the consumer, then finally healthy for the environment. And soilless farming allows you to match these three very easily, because in the process of the farming and all of that, the process and the produce is healthy for the farmer. So it's not just about producing, and why you are dying as a farmer, but rather it gives you a whole lot as a person for your own health. it's healthy
Yes.
for the consumer that will take the food, and as well healthy for the environment. So this is like a summary of what we do. Then much more than that, we also train others, because I believe
Fantastic.
that one of the reasons why we have stayed, why we have been left behind to a large extent is because we keep our knowledge to ourselves. And on our platform, since the month of September, we've trained about maybe 200 to 300 people for free. And why we are doing that is because we understand you cannot put price on everything at the beginning. There is a thing called delayed gratification. So for some of them, we signed, okay, you want to go into farming, come, let us train you, help you set up your farm. Having a farm in Abuja, having a farm in Nasarawa is a place I don't need to go and own another farm. And we have an agreement, we help you take your produce to the market. At the end of the day, you make money, we make money, the market
Together.
is well fed, and everybody is happy.
I
As
could
opposed
attest
to
to that,
keeping-
because Samson and I had a conversation, Jason. I said to him, I wanna cultivate saffron. And he said, we could do it for you. You have the market, we can do it for you. Let's work together. 5 minutes conversation. But
Sure.
you know, there's such a drive, and there's so much talk about, you know, the world is heading to a world food crisis and all this sort of stuff. Unless people do, you know, like, I wouldn't say experiments or have business models like what Samson and his team has done, that is what will actually change the dynamic, right? We have to move away from all the over-processed food and all this kind of stuff. It's funny, in the UK, you go to the supermarket, you look for something organic, it's 3 times the price of something that's not organic. So you naturally can't afford to just go and buy everything organic. You know, you go Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, I mean, you're like, whoa. but no, if you could have that sort of organic, and as he said, stabilizing that price, the more you do something, the more scale you have, the more you start to reduce that sort of transportation costs and everything like that.
Yeah.
The better quality products at a good, reasonable price. I mean, you know, we have a pandemic on our hand because people, you know, we're struggling with it, but your immune system is broken down. So you can't fight it. This is COVID. What happened to the others? So we've got to take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
We have to eat healthy. So your experiment and what you guys doing at the labs is amazing. What has been the response?
Yeah, so the response has been, so the first people who really appreciated what we're doing are nutritionists. These are people who have people come to them for special diets for different things. And they understood that it was not just about growing and profit for us, but first about health.
Yes.
That there is this whole connotation in Nigeria. I don't know if you've read about it, where they call blood money.
Yes.
People who do rituals for money. And I always tell people, if as a farmer, what you are growing poisons somebody, irrespective of how slowly the person dies, you are still into blood money. You are not just physically killing the person. And yeah, a lot of people now are getting to understand. And two, I am one of those that tell people, I don't like to hear the word organic produce. I say, because why not, instead of naming it organic produce, let's just call it produce and call the other ones unhealthy produce. It gives a consciousness to people.
You're right. You're right.
That this is the one that is not okay. This is the one that is not fit for eating. This is the one that is killing me instrumentally.
Yeah. Wow.
You know,
I love that, Samson. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, next time I look at a bowl of lettuce, I'll be like, are you unhealthy?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. I don't even look at bowls of lettuce, honestly. I put lettuce on tacos. That's it. I'm kidding. I love this, Samson. This is so cool. So let me ask you this. You're based in Nigeria. How many of these soilless farms are already up and running? I mean, or how many people are doing this?
Right now, there are many, because I've trained several people who have gone on to train others. So the numbers of farms that I have are the real big commercial farms. We should have nothing less than 20-something, between 20-something to 30 big commercial farms who are producing in metric tons.
Wow.
But for those producing in smaller tonnages, we have so many now, because we push for having people to learn how to grow with their small spaces at home. You can sell to your neighbors instead of waiting for us to supply you something. You can be growing tomatoes, your neighbor is growing pepper, and you do trade by barter.
Wonderful.
That is the stress removed from the farm. And you can do this in your houses, and it is simple. I mean, I still have somebody who sent me videos of how he has turned all his walls now to the hydroponics, and I'm like, this is awesome. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we had food security in the past was not because the farms were much more efficient, but because everybody had a garden. So there were things you did not need to go to the farm to get or go to the market to get. But right now, civilization has pushed people away from gardens of produce and all of that to flowers. Unfortunately, you cannot eat flowers. And if all you are after with your flowers is ornamentals, there are vegetables that are fine that you can still give you nutrition.
Yes.
And if we must push for food security, there is a need for everybody to grow something, no matter how little. You may not grow everything you are eating, just grow one vegetable. Your neighbor grows another type, your neighbor grows another type. We have a little bit of trade by barter so that those basic vegetables, you are able to say, okay, you grew this, I understand. Then the farmer can concentrate on things you cannot grow easily around your house. So with that division of labor, we push faster towards food security.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Now, I have one more question, Samson, and then I'm sure Vidya has lots of questions.
Oh, thank you.
So always. So Samson, like I said, you're in Nigeria, and it seems like you're having mass adoption in Nigeria. Are there other countries that are beginning to adopt this as well? Or is it just, are we kind of seeing the beginning of this movement and kind of spreading out from Nigeria?
No, we have other countries that are also doing the same. Kenya, for example, they are big in hydroponics. South Africa is big in hydroponics. Uganda is big in hydroponics. Ghana. So you have some other African countries also picking it up and all of that. And yeah, people are picking it up. The only difference is, which is what I've been clamoring, is domesticate the process.
Okay.
Domesticate don't import the parts. As much as you can, domesticate it. Apply the principle I call ABCD, which is asset-based community development. Hydroponics is basically growing your plant without soil. But look at how to do the same thing by using locally available materials around you. That way, adoption is easier, the setup cost is cheaper, then multiplication is faster.
Wow, excellent. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love to see that kind of adoption. I love how you guys are training people for free, and wow, fantastic.
So what's your vision for Soilless Lab? Where do you see yourself like in 6 months and the end of the year? Where do you want to go? And you know what, for all our viewers out there, how could we all help? Because, you know, like as you say this, I want to go down to the market and get some peppers. I mean, I'm going to plant. And I have some mushrooms growing. I have to say, they've been good. I've done wheatgrass because, you know, they can live in your house and stuff like that. And I use it in all my smoothies and stuff. But, you know, like I feel really excited about this. And I don't have much flowers because I believe everything should have a purpose. So I can't eat it. So I have like lavender, I have herbs, which look pretty, but, you know, I could pick it and cook with it as well. I have bay trees and all those kind of stuff. But in England, I think moss grows the best. What is your vision for Soilless Farm Labs?
Okay, so I would answer that in two forms. There is a long-term vision and a short-term vision. Okay. Now, the long-term vision is more of a global conversation. Now, the global conversation is, right now, everybody or most people are getting much more food aware. We are getting to a point where people are much more conscious about what they eat. And I say this always, that we must understand that we have genetic differences. I like to use this example of drugs. There are drugs that work best for a person than other drugs, even if they are supposed to do the same thing, probably work on headache, stomach pain, on all of that. And how well a drug works depends on my genetic morphology. Now, I also strongly believe that there are foods that are best for each person.
100%.
Agree with that. Now, with the way we are moving with gene mapping for human beings and all of that, we are getting to a point where we would be able to decipher what foods are best for you. What kind of food should you eat to better build your immune system? And with that information, we can use that to determine how to grow crops for those kind of people. So that we are not just growing rice for rice's sake, but we are growing rice for a particular genetic composition, such that when you get into the market and you want to buy food, you know your genetic composition. So you are looking for a rice grown for you, as opposed to a rice for the crowd. You are looking for lettuce grown for you, as opposed to lettuce for the crowd. Let me look for an example that will probably make sense. We have a food in Nigeria called cassava. Cassava is a starchy
And the
food.
Caribbean, standard.
Awesome. Now, cassava is a starchy food. Naturally, for somebody that is diabetic, you are told to reduce your intake of starch. What if there were cassavas that were bred specially or grown well in a way that the starch content is so minimal that a diabetic can eat it?
Okay, you have my
What
full
happened?
attention. This is absolutely fascinating. I've been thinking about the same thing. Same thing like people need to reduce their carb intake. You wouldn't eat certain things because you don't want that high level of carbohydrates. But how do you
Exactly.
impact the food product itself? I like where you're going with this. Tell me more.
So now what we are trying to do, or the future plan, is to get to a point where we have a lab that does the testing and we can now grow the crop to meet the specific health needs of that group, as opposed to just growing for the general populace. So that is the end game. Growing crop with specific needs, with specific messages. So it's not just I am eating rice because it is carbohydrate. No, you are eating rice because this percentage of carb, this percentage of protein, this percentage of fat and vitamins in the rice will help you do X, Y, Z in your immune system in the long run, such that every meal is a drug, not just food to fill the stomach. That is the end game.
That is interesting. And with the soilless farming, because it's all hydroponic, you could sort of put that into the water itself so that you could affect. Right.
Wow.
Exactly. So we can
Listen, if you're impressed, I don't know this. I just deduction here.
Yeah, no, that's so. There is something in plants called crop steering. Yeah. Crop steering is ability to steer a plant to produce what you want it to produce. But how do you steer a plant if you don't know what you want?
Absolutely. And you know what? Nature has been doing this for itself, right? Because when you see plants go from one location to somewhere else where the climate is different and stuff, they adapt, right?
They adapt and steer, yes.
Yes, interesting.
They adapt and steer. But this time around, since with the greenhouse we can control the climate and all,
you could make it what you want.
When we can make it what we want.
This is a whole new level of wellness products, right? Because people may, wellness is trillions and trillions of dollars. Drink this tea and that and that. Imagine if your normal meal, you're getting everything that your body needs for your consumption, for your nutrition and your health and well-being in your meal, which you enjoy eating. That is that's the end game. That is ultimately the best place you could possibly be.
Exactly.
Wow.
Powerful.
So Samson, I mean, right now, what does the organization, what does Soilless Farm Labs need to reach that vision faster? I mean, are you guys looking for more investors, or you needing partners to get the message out? I mean, what kinds of things from people outside looking in could do to help build this vision for you?
Yeah, so first, we are looking for investors because we need to replicate the farms.
Right.
I believe, I always say this, we cannot feed Nigerians alone. I mean, I can't do it alone. But we need more of these farms around, either as franchise or standalone, who would replicate what we are doing. So it's not just about doing hydroponics for hydroponics' sake, but understanding the purpose. And
yes, the message, absolutely.
That this can actually bring out. That is number one. Number two, so the short-term goal is that replicate the process very fast. Now, I know I use the word very fast, and I use the word very fast for a reason. Production, the rate of multiplication is very fast. Human race is growing astronomically. So we need to ensure that we are faster than the growth of human race in our food production. That is number one. Number two, in the middle term or in the medium term, is we need partners who will bring in things like research for what's it called, tissue culture, so that we can breed seeds for our purpose. Because we know what we want, so there is a need to start breeding seeds for specific purposes.
Absolutely.
Not just for seed's sake, because a tree cannot be bigger than the seed. The genetic component starts from the seed. So
absolutely. And the seeds over time. And the seeds over time is no longer what it used to be, right? So you had to almost redefine the DNA for that particular seed. Fascinating. Fascinating.
So that's medium term, because all of these things need to be in place. Then, of course, this platform and other platforms like this doing a lot in trying to push out the message, because there is a need for people to hear it. There is a need for people to understand it.
Yes.
That food is beyond filling the stomach. Food is an economic currency. Food is a health currency. And much more than that, food is the genetic code that you are writing for the future generations unborn.
Absolutely. For our Caribbean viewers and our Latin American viewers who are in connection with me on LinkedIn, if you need to connect with Samson, just ping me or connect with Samson directly. And Jason, your message for the guys in America. I mean, this is beautiful, right?
It is. I mean, and it's interesting. Just even in the last few weeks, we've seen as we've begun speaking more about Africa, in our posts, and it's actually garnering more views and more interaction than any of our other topics. So I know that there are people looking to invest in Africa, and specifically in things that'll make high impact, right? Obviously, investors want returns, but what we're also seeing is this big movement of investing with a purpose, right? Impact investing.
Exactly.
And there's so much opportunity in developing countries for that. So I believe that what you're doing makes a huge impact. It still has potential for future profits and making a big difference in just not just Africa, but maybe even the world population.
And the world, yeah.
The whole world. So absolutely, this is a message that we want to push out to people. And Vidya and myself are connected to people from all over the world, and people that are looking to invest, etc. So this is fantastic. I love this. I love what you're doing, Samson. It's really cool.
We need another session, right? And we need Samson on site so we could see this, because I called him sometime and he's walking around. I mean, you can't imagine how beautiful his background was. I couldn't even look at him because I'm busy, trying to look behind him, and the farm is splendid. And he passed this tree and I'm like, is that a Nima tree? And he's like, yes. And I'm thinking, like, you know what? People need to see this, and you need to see what Soilless Farm Labs are doing and the impact they're having, because we want to be able to replicate this with you.
I agree. I think we need to have another session, and I'd love to see how the sausage gets made.
No problem.
Absolutely.
So guys, we're actually right at our limit on time, but Samson, just any closing thoughts you want to leave with our audience before we go? Maybe just like another minute or so.
Yeah, I believe that food production should not be seasonal because hunger is not seasonal.
I saw that on your shirt and I love that. I like that.
I need a shirt like that.
No problem. We'll find able to send you one.
Thank you.
I love it. I agree. Hunger is not seasonal, so food production should not be seasonal.
Absolutely.
No problem. Thank you so much.
I love it.
Thank you.
Samson, thank you so much for being here. We'll get in touch with you. We'll try to do another session. Until then, continue doing exactly what you're doing and hopefully save the world someday. So.
And we are right with you.
We're right with you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Thanks, Samson. Have a good day. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.